Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Are You Ready for Calculus? A series of short videos that you can use to help prepare you as you go into Algebra 1. In this very first episode, I would like to talk to you about linear equations. In particular, the two big takeaways from this video will be how to find the slope of a line between 2 points and how to write the equation of that line. Let me get my pen set up. So again, slope formula important, and how to write the equation of that line in point slope form. As you can see, there are three main formulas that we use to write the equation of a line. However, I want to focus in particular on point slope form because it's the one that I use most often in my calculus class. All right, before we do an example where we find slope and write a linear equation in point slope form, let's take a look at this little pattern task. It's actually called the growing dots math task, and it's a pretty popular task for algebra teachers who are introducing linear functions. Okay, what you can see here is at the beginning of some sort of observation, there is 1 dot. At 1 minute, there are 5 dots, and at 2 minutes, there are 9 dots. So hopefully you can see pretty easily that what's happening here, if we are going from 1 to 5 to 9, is that every minute the pattern is growing by 4 dots. Okay, we can say that we have a rate here of 4 dots per 1 minute. And we would call that a constant rate of change. And that is something that is characteristic to linear functions. That's going to be really important, believe it or not, whenever we go into studying what are called derivatives in calculus. Okay, but for right now, again, we're just focusing on little bits of information that you need to know to be ready for Calc 1. So I don't need you to know what derivatives are. I don't need you to know too much about rates of change just yet. But what I would like you to be able to do is say, okay, if I have a rate of 4 dots per minute, that is actually the slope of the linear function or the line that we could use to describe this situation. And if there was 1 dot at the beginning, that's the y-intercept. Do you remember this? Y equals mx plus b. Does that sound familiar? I really hope so. It's like all we talk about in Algebra 1, right? Okay, and so the equation that goes along with this situation is y equals 4x plus 1. And there we have a linear equation to describe the growing dots problem. Okay, this linear equation is in what is called slope-intercept form because you can see the slope and the y-intercept in the equation. However, like I said, we're going to be using point slope form a lot in my class. So what I'd like to do now is go over a little example with you where given 2 points, we find the slope of the line through those 2 points, and then we write the equation in point slope form. Okay, so I'm going like, look, blank screen here, like this is full Sal Khan style, Khan Academy, right? Where I'm just going to make up a problem here and show you what I want you to know. Okay, let's go. I've never done this before. Let's say that we have 2 ordered pairs. I swear I'm just making these up off the top of my head right now. Let's go with -1, 3, and 5, -7. Looks good to me. Okay, and I want us to find the slope between those 2 points and then write the equation of the line that goes through those 2 points in point slope form. Okay, so let me just give you point slope form first so that we can sort of see what our end goal should look like. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, quantity x minus x1. Okay, where what you're going to do is you are going to fill in a point to x1, y1, and you're going to fill in a slope to m. Okay, the y and the x that you see here, those remain variables in your equation. You need to have an x and a y in your equation, and those will be it. Okay, but the other places will have numbers subbed in. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to focus on here is the slope. Okay, and we're going to find slope using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or I'd like to remind you that sometimes we call this change in y over change in x. Or also, okay, this is one of my favorite ways to write it because it connects to notation that you'll see in calculus, is delta y over delta x, which means change in y over change in x. Okay, the first ordered pair, we would call that x1, y1. Remember, each ordered pair has an x and a y. This is the first x and y, so we call it x1 and y1. The second ordered pair is the second x and y, so let's call it x2, y2. All right, so now, subbing in these values to the formula, we get negative 7 minus 3 over 5 minus from the formula, and then x1 is negative 1. Okay, so again, we just took these numbers from the ordered pairs and we subbed them into the formula for slope. Now let's evaluate the numerator. Negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. Evaluate the denominator. 5 minus negative 1 is 6. It's 5 plus 1, right? And let's reduce that fraction. Negative 10 over 6. What does that reduce to? Negative 5/3. There's your slope. And so that number will get subbed into the m in our formula here. Okay, so we're going to have a negative 5/3 in this part. Finally, to complete the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points, we can take either ordered pair. It doesn't necessarily have to be the x1, y1 ordered pair, even though it says x1 and y1 in the formula. I will take that, but you could actually take the x2, y2 ordered pair as well, and it would end up being the same equation, just with a different point filled in. Okay, but I'll go with x1, y1, and our final equation would look like this. Y minus 3 equals negative 5/3 times the quantity x minus negative 1 would become x plus 1. And there's the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. Now, it may make you uncomfortable leaving your equation in point-slope form because you are so used to slope-intercept form. So you can distribute the negative 5/3 through the parentheses and then add the 3 to your constant term to get your y-intercept over here. And you would have your equation in slope-intercept form. But typically we have bigger fish to fry in calculus. So I always tell my students, go ahead and just leave your equation in point-slope form. It does what it needs to. It has the equation with the slope and a point. Okay, I hope this was a helpful little video. And if you are interested in more tips on what you need to know in order to do well in Calculus 1, check back with the channel soon.